Okay, so we are now recording. If you do not wish to be recorded, you can turn off your camera, microphone, and a copy of this recording will be sent out afterwards. It'll also be posted on our website. So my name is Lauren Woodman, and I am an instructional designer in online learning and ed tech. I'm joined today by my colleague, Sandy Hannigan, and I will let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sandy Hannigan. I am the instructional technologist in the OLET team, and I'm really happy to be here to present here with Lauren today.
So our presentation today is Microsoft Office 365 accessibility. For those of you who haven't attended any of our presentations in the past, both Sandy and I are very laid back and open, so feel free to type any questions in the chat. We'll answer them as we go, or we'll let you know if it's something that we'll address later at the end. We just ask that you mute yourselves or make sure you're in a quiet environment if you're not speaking. But if you have a question at any time, feel free to just unmute and interrupt us. You're not going to offend us if you do that. Okay, so here's what we're going to go over today. Our first topic will be headings, tables, fonts, and links. Oh my. That'll be a lot of quick information about how to make those things accessible. We'll talk about accessible templates in Microsoft products. Sandy will tell us about dictation, read aloud, and transcribe, which are some great features within the Microsoft suite. We'll talk briefly about Excel, both sheet tabs and chart labels and alt text. And lastly, we'll talk about the accessibility checker, which can help you check and make sure that you've done all of those things correctly and that you have accessible documents. I do want to mention that we'll both be talking and showing a few videos. The videos from Microsoft are wonderful and they have a lot of great tutorials. Those are all going to be linked at the end of our presentation under resources. So if you see something that you like and you want more information, make sure to check out those resources. Okay, so first up is headings. So why even use headings? You might think of a heading as, okay, I want to make the title of my document. Can I just make it large text? Can I just put it in bold or underline it? Well, headings make sure your documents are accessible. Screen readers recognize them, and they help those who use screen readers navigate through the document. So without proper headings, your document might not be able to be read in the correct order. Setting up headings is really easy. You can type the text you want into a Word document, select where you want to add the header, and then under the Home tab, you'll go to Styles and then select which header it is. So Word actually automatically will apply a font and color change to make it clear that it's a title. So heading 1 is usually the title of the whole article. Your next heading is header 2, and so on. And I know that this is kind of esoteric, so we have some screenshot representations. So we're familiar with what Word looks like. Here at the top is your styles, your headings box. When you click on that style pane, you can see all the different styles that you have available. And you have your heading 1, your heading 2, your heading 3, your heading 4. You can actually add new styles or edit these to fit the theme of your document. And this is just a representation of those different headings and kind of what they look like. So this is your normal text, your heading 1, your heading 2, your heading 3. So that's headings. Next, we'll talk about tables. And when tables, there are kind of two things that you really want to look for if you are doing a table in a document. The first is header rows, and the second is column headings. So header rows and column headings allow Word and screen readers to understand and communicate information about the table. So if you don't have column headings, it doesn't know what information is in each column. It doesn't know what category those are, or if they are even categories. And same if you don't have a header row, it doesn't know that that's the title of everything that goes into that table. So in order to set up header rows and columns, once you have a table, this is a table that is already created. You go to the Table Design tab, you see you have some options here. And one of those is header row. So you select which row is your header row. And that's usually going to be the one that has your titles for the content. And, oops, sorry, you can just check that box. And setting your column titles is really easy. You just go to the top of each column and you type in what the content is that goes into that column. Very simple. Another point about accessibility in Word is making sure your fonts and your colors are readable. So if you're doing something that is electronic, you should use simple sans serif fonts. So sans serif means without feet. So think about those fonts that don't have the little lines underneath them. So Calibri, Verdana, some of those default Arial fonts are great examples of sans serif fonts. If it's a Word document, you want it at least 12-point font. Although for something like a PowerPoint, you might want to go with at least an 18-point font because it's going to be presented. Avoid using compressed or fancy or italic fonts. You should only use underline fonts if it's, you shouldn't use underline fonts. You should only use underline if your citation guide calls for it for maybe a book title, or if it's a web link. And to keep your text easily readable, make sure you leave plenty of space above and below, each paragraph, in the margins. So don't set your margins at 1/4 of an inch and have full text on every page. And traditionally, if you're dealing with a Word document, your text should be dark, black, or another dark color. Or if you're working with a document that has a dark background, you can use white text as well. But you're looking for a lot of contrast. Creating meaningful links. So someone using a screen reader to access a link will hear one character at a time in the link, which is really difficult to understand. So the screen reader would read it as visit this website, https://. It's hard to understand. You can rename a link very easily by selecting the hyperlink, right click, and click edit hyperlink. And you see a box pops up that says, this is the web address. What's the text you want to display? And I said, I want this to just say OLET website. You click OK, and now it says, visit this website, OLET website. Your title of your text to display should be clear. It should say what the website is that you're going to. It should offer a description, but it doesn't need to be, miles long. And accessible templates. So you might be thinking, okay, well, how am I supposed to create something that has the right fonts and the right sizes? And Microsoft has got you covered. For a lot of their documents, both Word documents, PowerPoint presentations, and even some Excel workbooks, they have pre-existing templates that are already accessible. When you open up the homepage to any Microsoft product, you have the option to start a blank presentation, open up something you've made before, or you can select a template. Most of those templates will be accessible, but to make sure, you can type accessible into the search box and all of the accessible templates will come up. There's also a website, and that's linked in the resources, where you can see all of the accessible templates and browse them online. And those accessible templates, especially for PowerPoint, but for anything that has images as well, already has those in the correct reading order for a screen reader. And we'll talk about this a little bit later when we talk about the accessibility checker. But screen readers read content on a page. Well, let me not say that. They read things from bottom to top as far as how they're listed in the selection pane. So the accessible templates take care of that. Things are already in the right order. But if you are putting together a new PowerPoint presentation and you want to make sure that everything is in the right order, you would make sure that the title is at the bottom because it's read bottom to top, and then your content, and then any additional pictures or any images or anything you might have. Okay, now I'm going to hand it over to Sandy to talk about dictation and read aloud in Word.
Thanks, Lauren. These next few tools and additions to Microsoft 365 are really, really important, particularly for any hearing impaired or visually impaired students that you might have, or for any other adults that may need additional assistance when they're working with Word, because they are universal through Microsoft products such as Word, or OneNote, Outlook, and PowerPoint. So the first addition I'm going to talk to you about is Dictation. And you can see, well, what I want you to notice on the little table here is the microphone. That would indicate that Dictation is present. And if you want to try these out, you should use the web version of the products, or the Microsoft 365 Word or OneNote that you've downloaded to your system. So to ensure that you do have Dictation available, you would go to Home and you would look for this Dictate button, the little microphone, and this will work while you're signed into your Microsoft account and on a mic enabled device. So once you click on that little microphone, you'll hear a little ding, and you'll see that it changes and a little dot appears to show you that the microphone is active, as you know, any other microphone would work. So move your cursor to a placeholder or to the slide notes that you're working on, or even in an Outlook mail, and start speaking, and you'll see that your text just appears as you are speaking. You can insert punctuation at any time by saying them explicitly, like stop, or next line or next paragraph, and you can fix mistakes with your keyboard without having to toggle the microphone on and off. So that's a really, really nice feature. And I think we have a little video that we're going to show you.
Just let me know if you can't hear it or see it for any reason.
Hello.
Last year, we saw a 20% increase in sales. Now, most of this is attributed to...
The bear and her cubs hungrily searched the forest for berries. Awesome!
So that's what Dictate looks like if you are enabling it in your in any of your documents to use. And by the way, the Dictation will dictate in your native language. Of course, we have everything set to English, but there are, I think it's 47 different languages that Dictate would work in. So thank you, Lauren, for showing that. Okay, and the next feature we're going to talk about is the read aloud in Microsoft Word. When you open up a document, you can click or tap at the beginning of the passage you want to hear, and you'll see that there is this little read aloud button above, on your ribbon. And when you get to the place where you would like the text to be read aloud, you click on the read aloud, and once again, it will read for you. So this is really great for any visually impaired students that you might have in your classes, or that you know of, where they can have the information read to them. All right, so this is read aloud in Microsoft Outlook. I mentioned that before. Read aloud doesn't only work in Word, It also is important to know that it's available in Microsoft Outlook. And if it is not, if you've never enabled it in your Outlook, you can do it very easily by going to File, Options, and clicking on Ease of Access. And when you get to the application display, and you can see that in the right hand panel, you see that there's Show Read Aloud checked. And once you do that, you will see the Read Aloud button enabled on your ribbon. So select a message from the home menu and select Read Aloud. So you should try it in your Microsoft Word. Again, remember to use the 365 version that you've downloaded, or use the web version of Word for Read Aloud. You can also transcribe the audio once you have the dictate and the read aloud available. And we're going to show you a quick little video on how to transcribe, which is really, this is really awesome. And it's done right through your Microsoft products.
Save time by recording audio right inside Word and get an automatic transcript inserted into your text. To start, select Dictate, Transcribe. You can upload audio you pre-recorded, or select Start Recording to begin your interview or conversation. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
You're welcome. I'm happy to have the opportunity.
Could you start off by telling me a bit about yourself and your organization? Continue your conversation, then select Save and Transcribe Now when finished. You'll see your transcript with different speakers automatically separated. Select the play button or a timestamp to hear your results. Could you start off by telling me a bit about yourself and your organization? And edit lines if needed. You can either add all to document, or just a single quote by selecting the plus icon on any line of the transcript.
So I think that is really pretty awesome. So we don't have to, if you're doing just simple dictation and transcriptions, you don't need another program. Just do it all right in your Microsoft products. So thanks, Lauren.
Thank you, Sandy. Those are some awesome features. So I'm going to talk briefly about Excel and then the accessibility checker. So we talked a little bit about headings, about headers and columns in a table. Similar idea for Excel. So you can set up headers in an existing table the same way we described earlier. So under, if you create a new table, you go to your table tools or your design tools, and you can select the header row checkbox, and you can also type in column headings right into Excel. If you want to add headers to a new table, you can actually do that when you create it in Excel. So if you insert a table and then in the Create Table dialog, it has a little checkbox that asks you, does your table have headers? And you can check the box that says yes. Sheet tabs. So I don't know about all of you, but I have some Excel workbooks that have 20 different tabs in them because I keep the same workbook in a different tab for every year. So if that's something that you are sharing out, it's important to make sure that each of your sheet tabs have a unique and descriptive name. And you can rename those easily by just right-clicking on the tab and typing in a descriptive name. And that, again, will help someone navigate the document. Alt text. So alt text is important for describing images in a document for individuals using screen readers. You can add alt text to a chart, a picture, a graphic, any other kind of visual in any Microsoft product, and it all works the same way. So to add alt text easily, you can right-click on an image, and then you'll get this pop-up dialog box, and one of the options, usually near the end, is edit alt text. Then you'll get a pop-up box, and it will tell you, how would you describe this object? 1 or 2 sentences recommended. So you type in the description. This is especially useful for a chart, because if you are visually impaired, you cannot see this chart. So it says, this chart shows the pie sales, and it tells the percentages and the breakdown. You can also mark an image as decorative. So let's say you just have a pretty picture of some flowers in there and it doesn't add anything to the document. It doesn't have any meaning. You could just mark it as decorative so that someone reading the document knows that they aren't missing any content. Another thing with alt text is if you have a lot more information than 1 or 2 sentences for that description, let's say you really want to go into depth about a certain diagram or chart, you can enter that into your presentation notes in PowerPoint, or you could create a separate paragraph about it in a Word document below. So lastly, the accessibility checker. So we talked about all of these different things that you can do to check for accessibility. And Microsoft will check all of these things for you. So maybe you forget to create header rows when you make a table. If you go to check accessibility, don't worry, Microsoft will tell you. So you can go to review and check accessibility, and it will tell you any errors. So errors are things like you are missing alt text, you don't have a header row, your warnings, which are sometimes, I get a warning a lot that says, hey, make sure this has captions. You know, for those YouTube videos, it can't tell if it has captions or not. So it's just, hey, you need to check this. There are also sometimes suggestions in there. Maybe there's something that missed alt text, like you didn't put alt text in, but it has a suggestion for alt text based on the kind of content that it is. So it will tell you any of those things. It will also give you a description here as to why you should fix it and the steps to fix it. So we have a short video on the accessibility checker. I do want to add the accessibility checker is in, I believe, every Microsoft product with the exception of Access.
Yes.
So you can check your accessibility in Word, in PowerPoint, in Excel to make sure your documents are accessible. Okay, so that is all we have on all of those different accessibility features in Microsoft. And as you can see under resources here, we have a whole lot of links. A lot of these will link out to Microsoft sites that have more information and instruction about each of those items. So if you need to see a tutorial or want to see another video about how something works, Microsoft also has an accessibility center. So they have a lot of resources for people with disabilities, as well as ways for you to create more accessible content. They have a YouTube channel with videos about all of the different accessibility features. So a lot of great options there. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to share a link to this presentation in the chat so that you have it and you have all of those links. And I can open it up for questions, or if anybody wants to see something in practice.
Lauren, I have a question. It's Eileen.
Hi. Hi, Eileen.
So with the transcribing, in order to get the two-way conversation, like if you were in a Zoom meeting, could you set that up already, open Word and set transcribe going?
Yeah, and actually it also allows the option to upload audio. So I don't know if you've seen in Zoom, but you can actually download both the video and the audio from Zoom. So if, let's say you forgot, or let's say it's after the fact, you could then download just the audio and upload that into that transcribe in Microsoft too.
And also if you're in a staff meeting and you want to take meeting notes, just use the transcribe in it, open up. So Word would have to be open at the time and then transcribe hits.
Right.
And then as long as we can hear everybody, it'll cool.
Yeah, it's really, I'm really happy with what Microsoft has done. I think the dictate and the transcribe, especially how it goes speaker by speaker,
right?
It isn't one long transcript. You may not know who speaker one is. You might have to edit that, and you can edit. I mean, we pay a lot for programs to do that. So now Microsoft has really, I'm really pleased with what they've done.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. And we have other programs that can do that, but this is a great option because, you don't have to log into anything else.
Yeah, it's free.
You already have it. And you can edit those. So if it's not 100% accurate, you saw that there's a little like pencil, you can go in and just very easily edit what was said. I do have to do a note first that if you are recording audio due to PA wiretap laws, just make sure everyone is aware that you are recording.
Ranit has some questions.
Yes. And I just put that link in the chat for everyone. Ranit, you're muted. Ranit, you're still muted.
Joe, you better not say anything. All right.
She looks so nice.
Joe's like, yes, she's muted. All right. My brother always wants to mute me, but that's another story. Okay. This is a game changer. This is really awesome. Thank you. Where were these people a year ago? So I have a couple of questions, which kind of builds on an email that I sent you a while back, not too long ago, Lauren. So I will often link, especially on my online classes, a link to a newspaper article. My question is, and it's usually a short one, what has been your experience with, in other words, if I want to copy and paste that article, bring it into Word, how accurate is the read out loud option? I'm sorry, is it read out loud?
Yeah.
The voiceover, right? The speech to text, right? Or the other way around, text to speech. How accurate is that in your experience? Has anybody tried?
If it depends, I guess, what it is you're copying and pasting. So if it's from like a website news article where it's literally just like text that you cut and paste and you put in, it should be 100% accurate because it just reads text. It might say things in a funny voice because it's a computer voice.
I don't care.
But that should be accurate. The issue comes, like, let's say it's a scanned newspaper, and so like let's say it was a paper newspaper that you like took a picture of, or you scanned.
Okay,
yes.
I can't hear well, right?
Then that would really be an image. Some of the letters might be distorted, and it wouldn't be able to read that or pick that up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing, and I don't know, I think this is a good form to ask this, but it's not related to Word. It has to do with Blackboard. Lately, when Blackboard changed some of its, the editor, the text editor, I noticed that the text, I had to darken some of the text to make it dark. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because of my Mac or what is it. Is that just a weird feature? Is it my computer? What's it doing here?
So what's even weirder is that that is just the preview view. So when you're typing it in, it is gray. It's gray. But when you submit it, it should be black as normal.
Yes.
So you don't actually have to change the color unless you can't see it as you're typing it yourself. But it's kind of to let you know that it's in like preview mode or edit mode. And then when you submit, it's normal color. But yes, that did change, and it's not just you.
Cool. Wonderful. Wonderful. This is good. Oh, and this, when you guys talk about Outlook, this is where I get super confused, because the only time I use Outlook is really every now and then checking email. What do you mean when you say, when you're using Microsoft Outlook, that some of this functionality is available? What does that mean? Because I think in terms of word processing. So Sandy, when you mention Outlook,
Yeah.
what's in your head?
Right. If you saw the read aloud, and you saw the dictate in Word, you can do the same thing in Outlook. So if you go to type a message in Outlook and you use dictate, it will type out the message for you.
Now, is
So
that on the
we
web?
showed you,
that on
it's
the
on the
web?
web version. Yeah.
You know what? I guess I'm not visualizing,
Okay, so
visualizing what you're saying. So when you're saying Outlook, I'm thinking Outlook, I use it mostly for email. So
sure.
are you talking about an Outlook text editor of some sort? I can't visualize what you're talking
Okay,
about.
so here you have Outlook open. You're going to send a message. You put in the person's name and you go to type the message out. If you use dictate, you can speak it and it will type it for you. And the same for read aloud. So you receive a message from me, you can use you could put the cursor in front of the first word of the message and click on read aloud, and it will read word for word. And that relates to the question you said before about the document that you were bringing into Word. Whatever word is there, that voice will read it.
Got it. Cool. Very nice.
Really, really nice for visually impaired students that need to send an email out. They can dictate and send the email that way.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Lauren, we have a request here for you to send the wiretap disclosure.
Yes, so I'm happy to share that. What I have is not like from a legal source. It's just a reference to the wiretap laws, and if you don't want to be recorded, here are your options. But I'm happy to share that with anyone who wants it. I don't think I have it typed up anywhere, but I can send that.
What other questions do you have?
All right.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy. Yeah. So I think at this point we can stop the recording, and then we are done with the presentation.